So this is a commentary that, could otherwise just not be done because I honestly have a few things that I need to upload instead of this, but I wanted to make essentially a reaction commentary to Life is Strange Episode 4, which is the, second to last in the series. Like I said in that original video I did, and if I get my shit together and start working on it, I'll get up another video I wanted to put up pretty much mocking narrative games. But it's amazing because I talked to a friend of mine about Life is Strange after the first episode, and I was talking to him about it, and I said, I have a strong feeling as to who the killer is, like who is the bad guy, the antagonist in this whole thing. And I was right. I was right from day one. I was absolutely fucking right from day fucking one as to who the real antagonist was. I mean, this is the entire basis in which that I criticize these games. They're just poorly written. They're predictable. They're just really not that well done. And this episode was just kind of another sign to me that, like, I just kind of just laughed at most of this episode. I just found it amusing more than anything else, just the emotional porn from the first minute of this episode, how far it was willing to go in just, like, saying, like, this isn't emotional enough, we gotta keep topping ourselves. And so I honestly think that they are writing this from episode to episode. Like, there is a lot of lost in this, in that sense, to where there are just things about it where you can sit there and say, like some just doesn't exactly feel right. It feels like they're kind of reacting to the reaction of their game thus far. I mean, there's even a joke at one point, a meta joke, about how Chloe needs to be saved by Max. There's a joke at one point about that, and I was like, that's one of the criticisms, that's one of the cracks about this game, is how often Max needs to save her. And the ending of this episode also, it just sticks a needle in that idea. And this isn't a theme that I don't think has started from the beginning. Again, I honestly don't think that this is well enough and well enough constructed that they actually sat down and created every aspect of this game in terms of the narrative and then did it. Like, it just took time to actually have the voice acting done and all that shit done. I honestly believe that they determine what is going to happen in the episode per episode. So now that this new episode's out and it's getting reviews, people are talking about it, people are playing it and live playing it and all that shit, they're going to listen, they're going to react to what people say, and then they're going to change it accordingly. So the end of this game is going to change depending on people, how they react to it. And it's just funny to me that, again, this episode cuts down on the shitty dialogue. They again attempt to improve the dialogue. They attempt to improve the social interaction. They attempt to improve certain aspects of the game that were clearly wrong with especially the first two episodes. But it's still not that well written. It's still, the dialogue is still not that strong. The characters are only so interesting. You're only so invested because the only characters you really give a shit about are Max and Chloe. They're the only two that have been really fleshed out, even though in this episode they take the time to especially attempt to flesh out one of the characters, and it doesn't really work. It's just so cheesy. It's just so obvious. I said it from day one who the antagonist was going to be, and I'm not going to spoil it here, but it was so fucking obvious. It's so glaring when they attempt to paint a negative portrait of one individual, and then at the same time, one person's story for why they're there doesn't make any fucking sense. There's no reason for one person to be in this small little shit town. It makes no sense other than they're there to do some nefarious shit. And I called it. I was right. That's my whole point when I originally made the video talking about narrative games and bashing them. It's from moments like this to where I walk away just amused at the fact that it's still not that well done of a game in any way. The episode is not bad, but in all seriousness, it was predictable. It did what it needed to do and nothing more. There's nothing strong about it. And that should not be the case. It should be a well done narrative game, but it ain't. The pacing is still fucking awful. The dialogue is still not good. The voice acting could definitely be better, for fucking sure. The voice acting in this was not a fucking strong suit, even in the older episodes, but for this episode, it's not done well either. So it's just like, I get that people want to say to me, well, to each their own, don't play the games, but you have to understand, I like narrative games. I don't have a problem with narrative games and playing them. I've played narrative games that were flawed, but I was willing to forgive for those flaws. A good example is Heavy Rain. I think despite the enormous amounts of flaws with that game, I still think it was a solid game. It was an experience that I still enjoyed and I still own. I still own that fucking game. But with this game in particular, with Life is Strange, I just think that it's getting so much undue praise for things that are just clearly wrong with it. In terms of just predictability, in terms of the bad dialogue, the stiff acting, just there's so much wrong with it. And I've seen games with good voice acting. I've seen games with good scripts. I've seen games that even had bad stories in which the characters and the dialogue and everything worked fairly well, despite the fact that they were working with a shitty script in the way of the actual story itself, what is actually unfolding before the player. The gameplay might be solid, but, there might be flaws with it. But it's just, when you are a narrative game, you have to get certain things right. You have to have strong voice actors. You need a strong script in terms of the dialogue, and you need a strong story in terms of what's unfolding. When you lack every single one of those things, I'm sorry, but it's a bad game. It's not good. You don't deserve awards. You don't deserve shit. You deserve criticism until you fucking improve to a level that is actually substantive. Then maybe we can talk about your game being worthwhile. And until then, no, it's not. And I don't understand why people are looking at me like I'm the bad guy. Like these games deserve a fucking pass. Regardless if it's Telltale or this game or who the fuck ever. They all deserve scrutiny. How many years have we been listening to shit about Call of Duty and all these other fucking franchises? Any of the Max Payne games, I'm a critic of those games. Any game like Bully, a one-off, where I enjoyed it, but it had fucking easy to distinguish flaws. Games like Grand Theft Auto, some of the best-selling, most accolade fucking deserving games in the industry should still have criticism against them, so long as it's substantive, and it's to the fact that, like, you want to see these great games be better than they are right now. And it's not as though Rockstar and Take-Two have not done slimy shit in the way of fucking people out of money. Let's not forget the whole heist situation, where, oh yeah, it's going to be their day one, guys. Day one of GTA Online. How many years did it take them to make do on that promise? To actually deliver that fucking content? And it still really wasn't all that good. It still really wasn't up to what it should have been for this kind of game. This is the point, guys. I have nothing against criticism of video games. I wouldn't have a problem with Anita Sarkeesian if she was actually criticizing games substantively. If she wasn't taking games like Life is Strange and putting them on a pedestal, talking about how great they are, when they're not. They're not good. They're not even solid games. They're rickety, and a lot of stuff is wrong with them. They don't deserve awards. They don't deserve praise. They deserve criticism. Because as a company, they need to improve. When companies get endless praise and a sycophantic fan base, that's when you wind up with Biowares. I know people are going to stick it to fucking EA and they're going to talk endlessly about creative control from EA. But the reason why BioWare is the way it is now is from their own fucking hubris. From talent leaving that developer and being left with hacks and progressive politics and shit. And that's what they produce. They produce shit. Hollow shit. From shallow developers. In this game, it could be actually good. Don't Not Entertainment could actually make a decent fucking game, I think. But they need criticism. They need to actually be told what the fuck is wrong with their game. What the fuck is wrong with these narrative games in general. No company's going to improve by glossing over what the fuck is wrong with their games. So if you guys just want me to be general about this, then I'm going to be general. But if you want me to be specific, give me that incentive to spend my time in dissecting these fucking games when I really don't even want to waste my fucking time. Because what am I going to get? What am I going to get? out of posting a 40-minute video on another channel dissecting Life is Strange or any of the Telltale games, talking to you exactly as to what is fucking wrong with them and why. And why is a person that understands writing and just basic construction of a fucking plot, why there's so much continuity issues, why there's so many errors in terms of dialogue compared to what's happening on screen, what's wrong with the fucking voice acting to what's happening on screen, why the script is so shitty and why pacing is such a fucking must in each and every one of these games in order to retain the attention of the viewer. If you want me to go into the gritty detail of this, I will. But this is a matter of incentive. You know, how much work am I going to have to go through to detail exactly what is wrong with these fucking games? But I just hope you guys understand that I do care about this genre of games. I very much do. Don't take me as simply writing it off arbitrarily, as if it's nothing. My entire basis for what I talked about originally, when it came to this game in particular, was to say that there's so much fucking wrong with it. It's amazing to me how much praise it gets. How many people reward it with positive scores and heaps of praise and fucking accolades out the ass when it doesn't deserve any of those things. It deserves criticism because that's what the developer fucking requires. Maybe they're nobody. Maybe there's some small little pissant company that this is going to be their one-off game and they're going to go away. But whatever. I care about the medium. I care about the industry. I care about this genre. And so I'm putting my opinion out there on it. But, you know, I'll stop my lecturing for now because I have other shit to put up. So, thanks for listening.